Hi, I'm Jared. I'm an aspiring computer science major at George Mason, and I'm here with Joash.
Joash, information technology major at George Mason.
All right, so Joash, I'm going to try and not sound as forced as possible, so bear with me. Tell me about a time, like in school, out of school, wherever, that you felt challenged, like anything.
Um, Most recent example actually came during this semester in my 300 level class for my major, IT 304. Um, we were, randomly assigned into groups of four at the beginning of the class, and I was just having, difficulties with keeping in touch with my team with two of my teammates, and trying to set dates and schedule when we're going to work on assignments and stuff. So um, you know eventually, me and my other partner, we emailed the professor. He said he could put us in a different group, and we would meet with him at the end of the next lecture to discuss it. And it ended with us being put in our own group. If I could go back, I would have tried to make more attempts to communicate with my other teammates.
So,
Try to.
sorry,
I don't
going
know.
back. Oh, yeah, sorry, going back to like you doing things differently. Like, what strategies did you mentioned you did you sent messages and emails. What strategies would you use differently? Because they clearly weren't responsive to uh, the existing ones.
Um, I I would have tried to get in contact with them in person, like maybe before or after a class. Just hey, I don't know if you've been getting my messages on Discord or my emails, but if you just trying to find a time to schedule and we can work on these homework assignments and the big project we have. So I definitely would have because there's no excuse that that I you didn't see it. If I'm talking to you in person. So.
Yeah.
Um, if I could go back and do something differently, I would have made a I would have made more attempts to get in contact with them in person for sure.
Hmm.
What about you? Anytime you felt challenged in or
Mm,
out of college?
well, let's see. There's quite a few, but trying to find like a good one because most of my challenges are I can't really say I consider them to be like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I
Yeah,
guess the biggest challenge I have is interpersonal relationships. So I'll just give like a general scenario because I can't really think of any specific one, so you have to bear with me. First off, like when it comes to just like if I ever want to just talk to someone because I think they're interesting, right? Like it's very out there for me. I don't usually do it, so I'm not really active in that, and has caused it creates a lot of feelings of challenge. The other thing is like just responding to things in general because I usually forget because I'm like, oh, I have something really shiny in front of me, like work,
yeah,
video game, etc., and I end up forgetting. So that usually diminishes, I guess, or it sours the relationships with others. So been trying to change that.
yeah.
What I've been trying to
I
do
can
is,
relate to that.
I'm
I don't
sure
know if
many
it's like
can.
I don't know if it's like a mild form of like ADHD or something, but like I'll
Uh,
sit down to do an assignment and
just
something that I have to handle comes up and it's like, oh, I only worked on it for 5 minutes in total. It's
ooh, yeah, I totally get that. Uh, as
somehow I
for
still get all my work done though. I don't.
yeah, getting work done is important. It's it's always a grind, but yeah.
That's actually a good. That's a good. That leads us into the next question. How has your time in college influenced you? I think specifically what we were just talking about. I think the main thing you learn in college, aside from learning about your major, is what kind of worker you are. So I've realized that I work in bunches. Like I'll I'll take like 2 or 3 days out of the week and just get like all my work done for the next like 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and then just coast for the rest of the days. So like I had a paper. It wasn't close to the due date or anything. It was like still 2 weeks away.
Yeah, and you
but it
just
was
like
like
knocked it out
15
along with all
pages.
other assignments, just done.
Yeah, and I did like an all nighter. I drank like an energy drink and I stayed up for like 5 hours and I wrote like all 15 pages and I got 100 on it. I got 150 out of 150.
That's nice. Well done.
And So, some people they're able to like manage their time, on a daily basis. Like like do their work in like increments. And then other people, they just, like I said, they work in bunches. So, I think college is really good for, you know, not molding you into the like where you are, but just letting you know like what kind of worker you are.
Understanding it and like learning how to leverage it, I guess, to the best
Yeah.
effect. Yeah, for me, like my time here, kind of, I mean, it just goes to show how like it really, like I really get to see just how I deal with things alone. I mean, I've been loving
Mhm.
it, nothing wrong with that. But going back to the time, I'm a lot more chaotic than you. Uh, you have
Mhm.
like I'm like very jealous that you have like a nice kind of schedule where you're like, okay, could get all my work done. We wait for it to build up again, get all done. Just I
Yeah.
admire the cycle. For me, some days I'm like, great, get all my work done. I'm done for the next 3 weeks. And then other days I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work incrementally. And then
Mhm.
yeah, it's just like it really depends on how I wake up that day. It's quite chaotic. So
Yeah.
I've been
And
trying to
I'm
get that
sure
under
there are people
control.
who there's people who like go back and forth between those types. Like sometimes you're like you're like a busy bee, like, oh, okay, I'll just get everything done. And other days you're, like you said, just working, like on the throughout the week, like incrementally.
Yeah.
Um, I guess that. So, what are some of your guiding principles? I mean, these questions
Hmm.
they're carrying over really well.
Well, let's see. I'm
That's
like,
a very general question.
yeah. My apologies.
No, you're good.
Guiding principles. That's a good one.
I
I
think,
wouldn't say I have any like specific principles in the sense like you like this things must be this way. I generally like I guess my principles would be just try and accept things, not necessarily as they are, but
yeah,
like understand
like it's
how
not going
things
to be
are.
perfect. Yeah,
Well,
like I'm
no,
very
that's
much.
something else. That's something else. I'm a total perfectionist. At least when it comes to certain things. Like only when it comes to
Well,
my interests, I'm a perfectionist. But so I can't really say I'm like so I'm not like laissez-faire like as you will. But
mhm,
I try and understand. Okay, this is just the way that things are, and
yeah,
given this situation, what am I gonna do? Like, how can I get what I
yeah,
want? So I guess self-motivation uh, is always like my one of my guiding principles. And of course, you do have certain lines you just absolutely want to stay away from as well. So like obviously you don't want to
you,
go and just like go on some sort of stealing spree.
yeah. I
It's
mean, you can only control your environment so much.
mhm.
I'd say I'm very much like, you control your destiny. Like if you put in the requisite time and effort, you know, you even if you don't succeed, you can say, well, at least I gave it my best. I know that sounds like very cliche, but
Oh no,
that's really what I believe.
I totally understand. There's actually like I think it was an Italian philosopher, but like I know there was a philosopher I think during the Renaissance who was like you leave 50% up to chance and 50% is your own effort, right? So
Yeah,
I don't think it's 50-50. I think it's more of like
I think it's more like
80-20.
maybe 80-20. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah,
um,
some of it is just it's up to chance. Like after all, it's not like I'm going to win the lottery no matter how many tickets I buy.
it's
Right.
I've been thinking about that. I would say like if you're not doing specifically like, as it relates to like college and like success in college,
Mhm.
if you're not doing like a hard science or anything like technical as your major, I'd say like conscientiousness matters more than like intelligence for your success.
What do you
Like
mean by
if you're just someone who is like very much like, oh, I get my work done, I always turn something in. That might you'll be more successful than someone who's like, very smart but just can't bring themselves to do their work.
diligence
Unless
over a lazy
unless you're doing
genius?
like something like if you're majoring in like physics, then yeah, you need to be you have a certain level of intelligence.
Yeah,
But
it is probably like yeah, back as you said, like in college, it is a lot of hard working. It's college is basically when the hard workers begin to shine over the talents, right? Because high school, it's
yeah,
a breeze. You could just be like, eh.
high school
Easy.
is yeah.
All right.
So
So going
um
off on hard work, personally, when I feel very accomplished when I work hard. So describe any moment that you felt truly accomplished. Like, what's something that you like? Yes, I did it. Like anything like that.
uh I would say so I'm a transfer student. I did
Hmm.
uh I did 2 years at Nova and then I transferred here.
Yeah.
Um I'll be like completely honest. I gave like maybe 50% effort at best throughout my entire time there.
Ooh.
Um like I just I just because a part of it was like COVID, so you're doing stuff online, and just not being able to motivate myself. And I still like not to brag on that, I still graduated with like a 3.91 GPA.
Oh, nice.
Despite like never really the only class I truly felt like challenged there was I took a class called it was like software development. I think that I got like an 85. That was the worst grade I got while I was there.
Uh,
So I mean, I was, um, I mean, accomplished maybe, but because I look back and I say, well, I could have, I could have tried more, but I still did really well. So yeah, I'd say that's a time I felt accomplished academically, at least.
yeah, you got to just got everything done, right? Got
Yeah,
pretty good. Well, I mean, most I guess 85's a pretty good grade, but overall you had like a nice exiting GPA. One time for me, like I basically just feel accomplished. Like I like making things, so cooking,
mhm,
woodwork, leatherwork, etc. Just name it. I love making them. As I mentioned earlier, I am a bit of a perfectionist, so I really feel accomplished when I create something I'm satisfied with. Issue is that's
yeah,
like never. But on rare occasion, like finish something like your code, whatnot, that's just like the most, just seeing it just flow beautifully is exactly like what makes me feel so accomplished. And that's kind of led me to just learn a bunch of hobbies in the sense like I picked up some leatherwork, woodwork, metalwork. I wouldn't say I'm a master at any of them, but I can do them to an extent.
yeah,
So yeah, I would have tried more, but there are financial and social concerns there. Anyways, going off of my hobbies, I know I personally enjoy, as I mentioned, creating things, but I'm very partial to video games and reading. Like those are like
mhm,
two primary pastimes that I've
yeah.
been keeping myself just busy with in college. Um, how about you?
I'd say
Any?
me too.
What?
I've probably bought like in the last 3 months. I'm just looking at my bookshelf. I've probably bought like 2 dozen books off Amazon in the last 3 months.
Oh
And
God,
I keep every one I buy, I keep telling myself, all right, this is the last one.
no, it's
So,
not. Trust me.
like,
Trust me, I
yeah,
know.
like a recent like personal obsession of mine is like economics. So
Wow. Oh, you're doing
I
like true like informational books. I unlike me, I mainly just read for fun, like fantasy novels and stuff like that, sci-fi,
yeah,
etc.
okay. Well, um, that's one thing I've noticed. So I was like I was an avid reader in my childhood as well, and I don't
Hmm.
know if you've heard of the Book Bowl or that. There's like this summer or not this summer thing, but
Yeah, I think I've
you'd be
done something
assigned
similar.
yeah, you'd be assigned like 12 to 15 books to read over the summer, and then you'd have like a chat, like a competition where you're quizzed on stuff from the books.
Hmm.
Um, so those were primarily like what you said, like they weren't like technical books, and so
Yeah.
I've always had this idea of reading that like you can pretty much read and not put much effort into like conceptualizing what you're reading, and you still just get it. But like I have this one book by this guy named J. Bradford DeLong, and it is like so technical. Like there's parts in this book you can tell it's like a graduate level like economics book.
Hmm.
Um, there's like there's like they're using like epsilon as like a variable and stuff,
Oh,
lambda.
stop! You're giving me physics trauma. Lambda,
Yeah.
no. Linear
So
density.
I actually have to like like actually concentrate when I read to make sure I understand. Um, what they're
Yeah,
talking about. But
I get you just like enjoy that kind of concentration, or
yeah.
yeah, I suppose that concentration is motivating. In my case, I do enjoy just learning new things, like technically or technical wise. So just learning how to program and whatnot. But for those, I prefer reading articles over books because whenever I try
Mm,
picking up like a book on math or whatnot, I'm just like I just shut down. I'm like, ugh, this sucks. I'm bored now.
yeah.
But when it comes to my favorite books, like I usually try to like I like trying to understand the story, like what's going on, why are these characters interacting this way, what's going to happen next. Like creating predictions is like my favorite thing. Though the issue I've been having is a lot of books they kind of have a very similar ending, so
Mhm.
it's just like a matter of who gets picked off first,
Yeah.
like which characters are axed first. It's kind of sad at the same time, but it is
Mhm.
quite fun, especially when you get a good story. And as for
Yeah.
how this influenced my schedule, I can't say it's been positive. Whenever I get latched onto a book, I must finish it. You know how you said you work in bursts? I read in
Mhm.
bursts. Like I
Yeah.
cannot. Once I open a book, it takes the hardest willpower like to put it down, especially if it's a good one.
Yeah. That's. I mean, that's good. You know, you.
It's good until
It's
you
not like you. It's
realize
not like it's a bad hobby to be.
you see, I would totally agree with you if if it didn't intervene with my work, like I have like something due tomorrow, like a relatively big assignment, I'm like, but I mean, my book's coming out, so it takes a
Yeah.
lot of willpower just to get through that. How like I know like you've mentioned that you read like a lot of like the economic and technical books, so how has that influenced your schedule? Because
Well, that's the thing. I'm very much like a like my focus. I'm very much like one dimensional. Like I'm either like giving my all to school or I'm giving my all to like reading. Like
oh yeah,
so
yep, definitely.
I haven't I've slowed down significantly since the semester started because I just it's very hard for me to like divide my time properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because even when I have free time from school, I'll be like, oh, let me just like hop on PUBG, you know, like
Yeah, like your brain's dead. You just need a break. Like
yeah.
too
So
many letters were
um,
all like letters were already inscribed into my head. No more, please. Ah,
the thing with school is that it's like you have that motivator, which is like the fear of like getting a bad grade. So you'll always have like the motivation
yeah,
to like get your work done and stuff. You don't with stuff that you're doing as like a personal hobby, you don't have that like motivating factor. It's sort of just, you know, your will, you know?
yeah, definitely. I know for me, my I guess technically Asian parents are very scary when I get bad grades. So yeah.
I'd say my parents are they they just expect like excellence. Like
Oh yeah,
I don't
no,
really
no,
care
that
about like
that's
what you're learning. I just you just need to get a good
yeah.
grade.
You need to like my mom's always like, you're clearly capable. What seems to be the problem? Like my attention
Yeah,
span.
yeah,
So like they know you can do better, so you can never escape not doing better. Uh,
yeah. Like
that's just how parents are, right? They always want the best, or ideally
yeah,
they always want the best. But moving on, given our favorite pastimes, both like reading, what is your end goal? Actually, I'll start because I kind of want to get this off my chest, if you don't mind.
yeah. That's fine.
I think what I'm really trying to work towards here in college is one, obviously getting a job. I mean that's basically it. But
Yeah.
to be more in depth and in line with, I suppose, this assignment here, I'm trying to get a job that will support my hobbies past retirement. So gotta get
Oh,
enough. Huh?
okay. I like you just where you're making a lot of money essentially.
Yeah, basically just ease all financial burdens. Like I don't
Yeah.
need to be like freaking billionaire rich. That's crazy. That's too much money
Well,
for
you
me
just
to
get a job
manage.
in NVIDIA that asks for your entire compensation in stock.
Yeah, yeah, like just living off of dividends and interest. I
Yeah.
mean, like, because
I
I
saw
think,
a crazy tweet the other day. It was like if you had been hired at Nvidia in 2013 and let's say your total compensation was 400,000, right?
Yeah.
and you had asked for all of your salary in stock, that would be worth 100 million now.
Damn.
400 grand.
Holy shit.
It's crazy, dude.
Color me impressed.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
that's like what, 250 times return? Like it,
basically. Yeah, I know.
which I guess would be like 2,500%. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, just
So
like just going off like back to the I guess money wise, it's mainly I want to get all like big term purchases out, like I guess house, car, etc. Like
yeah, yeah,
while I'm
that's
still making plenty of
I was
money, so that
actually
when I'm
speaking.
old, I can just live off of dividends, be like, yeah, just maintenance here, nothing too big, right? How about you?
You know what's so funny? I was actually speaking with my dad the other day,
Yeah.
and I just think it's funny. He said he's like, son, you know what the and I don't mean this in any way. He's like, you know what the Indian Americans do? And I was like, what? He was like, they buy their house like 2 years out of college. And it's just so funny to like hear you say that you want to get your
Uh,
big purchases out of the way, and it just lines up with what he said, you know.
yeah,
So
no, no, definitely.
um,
My family's
yeah,
been or at least my mom has raised us to one value education. Like that is like her number one thing. And then two, save as much money as yourself. Like she likes to say, before you pay anything else, like your taxes or whatnot, pay yourself. Put as much as you can into savings or a 401k, etc. Right?
hmm yeah.
So how about you? What
Um,
are what are your what's your grand aspiration?
that's I mean, mine is very similar. Like I want a a good paying job. I think that's the trade off you accept when you like major in like something technical. It's like, okay, I understand that like I'm gonna have to work like significantly harder um throughout college, but the reward is that I have access to higher paying jobs post graduation. So um yeah, graduate, preferably with like honors. Um
Yeah, definitely.
get a good job. Maybe land like an internship this summer or the next.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm looking into
And
that right now. It's been quite the stream of rejections for
yeah, you
me.
need I specifically for you as a CS major, I've heard that all the interview questions come from like the data structure and algorithms classes that you've probably taken or have to take.
Yeah, I haven't taken data
Um,
structures just yet. I think I'm doing that next semester.
I think I saw like a YouTube video where it was like, yeah, pretty much they just all the questions are straight from like that class.
Well, yeah,
So
going off of what my dad's told me about just CS in general, he's like, whenever you do programming, there are only three things you need to know, or there are only two things you need to know to say you've learned a language: how to read a file and how to write to a file. Because he's like, all you do is you read from a database, you process the data, and you write to a user, or you read from a user
yeah,
and you write to a database. I'm like, well, that's highly oversimplified, and I like it.
yeah,
Modern day
yeah.
scribes, let's go. Uh,
All right. So I mean, this isn't really, but relationships like I guess it could be anything like with your professor, friends, parents. We were kind of talking about that just now. What do you find
yeah.
most important in them?
Mm, I suppose what I find most important is well, it's kind of hard to just say one thing because relationships they each bring something different. But I guess what I want to find in them is just like trust, I suppose. Like just complete
Yeah,
honesty. Like you can be completely candid, as politically incorrect as you don't like as you want, and like they just understand exactly what you mean by that. They don't like take it out of context or anything like that. Just nice and simple like that. I mean,
okay.
as for how I nurture these, I usually search for people who also make just plenty of or I guess uh they just like making politically incorrect jokes, just not in the sense where they're rude, but they're just well read on like a topic and they make
Yeah,
fun of it like crazy. Like they like say we're doing something on or like they're trying to make a joke on religion. They actually read up on it. They understand what the religion's about. They show both the good side and the bad side just to like to make it funny. Like they have to do both.
yeah.
But how about
Um,
you?
um, Most important, I think, just the most important thing in a relationship for me is that like you're providing the other person with something like happiness, like you know if you're funny, you're providing them with like comedy. It's like an
Yeah.
exchange of like not an
Goods and
exchange of
services.
emotions, but like just yeah, pretty much.
Quite literally a
That's like
trade deal.
yeah, like if you're ever there's no relationship that exists where like neither side is getting anything out of it. So um,
Well,
that's pretty much yeah. How do I nurture that? I guess you just I think it just happens like sort of like subconsciously. And
mhm.
when it stops
Yeah,
happening, that's when relationships die. Like,
exactly. Like
uh,
I get where you're coming from because I personally I have very little experience in starting any kind of relationships. Usually relationships I start is because of coincidence. I'm like, you're here,
mm,
I'm here, we're stuck. Let's be stuck and not like at each other's throats.
yeah.
So I've had like actually just today I tried just like talking to someone like randomly and my God, that was hard. Like
Mm,
my heart rate went up to like 120. Holy shit. It was
yep.
hilarious. Uh anyways,
Yeah.
out of
So,
hmm?
no, good. Yeah, go ahead. You're going on to the next one.
If you have nothing more to say, please go ahead.
No, you're good.
All right. So, what out of all of our family or out of your family values resonates with you the most? Like, what is one thing that your family has taught you that you're like, I completely agree, and I literally cannot find any reason to disagree.
Uh, I, I mentioned it earlier, but just like you at the end of the day are in charge of like you have like personal agency. Your outcomes are dependent on you. Like
Hmm.
don't make excuses. Like that
Your
like very
position is
much
the
like
sum of your results or your actions.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so that like governs pretty much like most of my decision making and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So
also draw very strongly from something similar. Like, if you fuck something up, you're obviously the one who screwed it up. Like, it's your business. It's not like someone else did
yeah,
it. Clearly, just take responsibility for your actions. So that one I definitely like resonate with a lot. But I think for the most, that's like completely that I completely agree with is education. Like I mentioned earlier, that my family really values education, like on both sides, my mom and my dad. This is because both of them are immigrant families, so they had to like come here,
yeah,
and they saw like the contrasting educations in like their home countries compared to like America, and that combined with what their education has gotten them has led them to value education like a lot. And
yeah.
I mean, I usually like
I think
I've
that's
had
that.
I've
I
had.
think that's why specifically with like immigrant parents because my parents are too.
Hmm.
It just like them being able to like experience firsthand the difference in like opportunities, like career wise
Yeah.
and education wise here compared to like maybe their country of origin.
Hmm.
It like that's why like so many of them it's just like just get it done, like don't make
Yeah.
excuses. You so
You have it much better off. You got this. I mean,
yeah.
both a very
Um,
motivational thing and also sometimes disheartening because you know that. I mean, like I personally see like my mom is a crazy person, like not in a bad way, like a real good way. Like she gets so much work done, and it's like insane how much. I'm like, damn, I wish. But you could tell that's literally just because of her extreme like self-motivated nature. So.
yeah,
Yeah, just education, pulling yourself up. That's it's like what resonates with me the most. Now,
yeah.
I'm sure we did mention this earlier in our challenges, but what's something that really pushed you out of your comfort zone?
Uh, this you might have the same answer, but that the explanatory speech that's actually the first time I well okay I spoke at a funeral before, but that's the first time like I've actually
Oh
like where
wow.
I've spoken and I had like no choice. I had no say in the matter.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so it was. I think once I finished, I was like, that was not anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. I practiced like for the week leading up to it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Yeah, I know for mine,
I was,
I didn't quite land it as much as I had hoped.
yeah.
Especially those citations. Oh well. But yeah, I think that definitely did push me out of my comfort zone. Like
Wait,
I pers hmm?
was it that you didn't have citations or that you didn't cite them properly?
I'd like to change the question. I'm kidding. No. It's more of I miscalculated how much they were worth. And because
Oh,
when I like was making my presentation, I'm like, I basically already know this because I mean that's literally what like the whole thing was based off of like my knowledge from just like professors and personal
yeah.
like study like over the years. So if you told me to cite the sources, I'm like, I mean, I guess they're there somewhere, but I don't
Mhm.
remember which one. So that's what like really knocked me there because I didn't know what to put for a citation. So
Yeah.
I ended up ignoring
And,
it.
they had to be verbal citations too, and yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that
Uh,
was quite a bit of fun.
I think Maya's the only or only person who got an A. If I had to guess, like hers was the only one I looked back and I was like, okay, that was like flawless.
Hmm.
I think she went first. Yeah, she talked about the behavioral like models for children and
Yeah, that one was good. I also thought the engineering design one was pretty simple and like sweet to the point.
oh yeah, yeah. So okay, well, I mean, we know how that made you feel.
All right.
um and I kind of
And
know how you handled it, like you asked him for office hours.
yeah, me,
What are you like hoping to accomplish with the office hours?
well, turned out, funny thing, you know how we were supposed to record ourselves?
Yeah.
Turns out I didn't hit the record button. So I came in there, I went in there unarmed, man. It was scary. I'm kidding. It wasn't that scary, but basically, I couldn't like refute anything he said because like it really made me understand the importance of like making sure I have documentation. I mean, I already knew it was important. But
Yeah.
like this really just brought it. I'm like, yeah, I get like the main reason I went there was just to understand why I lost points, not to regain any.
Hmm.
So I didn't really lose anything there. But what transpired was essentially like I learned exactly what I wanted, and then remember how he lectured us in class, like
Yeah.
when we got our test back. I basically had a preview of that. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's
I was
about
very
it.
surprised by how blunt he was.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no, I appreciate bluntness. Like, I mean, it's just probably how I've been raised. But if you're gonna say something, just say it. Don't dance around the point, right?
mhm, yeah.
Has led to
Um,
quite the fun scenarios. Like, especially when I write emails, because I'm like, hey, handle this, and then I'm like, hey, mom,
mhm,
can you check this email? Because I think this is to the point. He's like, Jared, that's rude. I'm like, what? It has led to quite the difficulty. How about you?
mhm. Uh, in regard to what my grade on the thing on the
Nah, just like how exactly did you or like what did you do you mentioned it wasn't as bad when you did it. W-
yeah
like how did you manage to or how did you handle it leading up like just to prepare for doing it? Like you mentioned you
just
just
going.
practice.
So, yeah, so I printed out. I wrote up an entire like dialogue
Mhm.
and then printed out a Word document. And so I was just sitting in my room, just going over my lines to the point where it was like, just, I
You'd
could just,
memorize them.
yeah. Um,
Mhm.
so the one thing I wanted to hammer down was the transitions because I saw those were worth a lot of points on the rubric.
Mhm.
So transitions, remembering to cite sources, and then just the way my presentation was structured, it was actually very easy for me to go over the main points.
Oh yeah,
So
that's always good.
I didn't really have to. That wasn't like a something for me to like have to remember. But um, yeah, just once I got up there, it just just started like flowing. Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. It's always
yeah,
nice when you just
so
catch that flow there.
yeah,
Well, I think
Um,
that's all the questions we have. It was nice talking to you and learning.
yeah, very, very informative discussion.
All right.